Types of banking project: new build versus enhancement versus regulatory. So we'll be discussing as a business analyst what will be the task in each of them, complexity, and the efforts for these projects. It would be better if we do these estimation as we can plan the efforts, documentation, and stakeholder engagement appropriately. So in a new build or an implementation project, we'll be building up a new application or a system from scratch. In an enhancement project, will be improving or extending an existing system. In regulatory project, will be modifying system to comply with laws and regulations. Let's discuss more about the new build projects. So in the new build project, we can take an example. Let's suppose we are building either a digital loan origination system or a new mobile banking app. So the BA responsibility in these would be, so we'd be doing the requirement gathering from scratch. We'll be we'll be designing up the process flows and the data models in that. We'll be doing end-to-end testing. We'll be creating documents such as BRD, FRD, and the flows, and we'll be identifying all edge cases from zero. As we'll be developing everything from the very start, for the very beginning, and we'll be completing the whole part of the project, the complexity level would be very high. As we are not aware what would be the steps at the starting, and there would be a high uncertainty for this project. Enhancement projects. So let's take an example. If we are adding any features in this, so adding UPI to the autopay feature. So if you are adding UPI autopay feature to the UPI, that would be an enhancement project. Improving loan dashboard UI, adding new reports in core banking. So these are the examples for the enhancement projects. So BA responsibilities in these projects would be doing the as is and to be process for the current system. So we'll be designing the as is and to be process. We'll be doing the gap analysis and impact assessment. We'll be adding or modifying features. We'll be writing up the user stories and will not be doing the end-to-end testing in this. We'll be doing the regression testing. Complexity level is medium, as we probably know that the existing system is already built. So taking and knowledge or info from that existing system, we can build up the new features in this. So as the existing system exists, so ambiguity decreases. Compliance driven projects. Examples could be implementing know your customer or anti money laundering rules, central bank guidelines updates, transaction monitoring for fraud detection. So, BA responsibility would be interpreting regulatory guidelines, mapping regulation to system logic, updating validation and audit rules, translating legal language into system requirements, and working closely with compliance and legal teams. That's it. That is how we'll be implementing the compliance and the laws into our digital system, digital banking system. So complexity level would be high, but it is not that much complex as we have in the new build projects. So here we have to exactly build what is in the laws. Otherwise, we'll not be able to put our products into the market. Let's see the differences between the new build, enhancement, and regulatory. So as there is no starting point for the implementation of new build, but for the enhancement and regulatory will be having the existing system. Requirement clarity would be low for the implementation and medium for enhancement and high for regulatory. BA effort would be highest in the new build, medium in the enhancement and high in the regulatory. Flexibility would be high in implementation, medium in enhancement, and very low in regulatory. So risk level is medium in enhancement, and for new build and regulatory, there is a high risk. Timelines pressure would be medium for newly built and enhancement, but for regulatory, timelines pressure would be there as we have to comply with the laws set up by the government. So let's see at the work specific what would be the difference between these projects. So requirement gathering, we have to do it from scratch and newly built, enhancement based on the current system, and regulatory from compliance documents. Documentation probably will be going with the BRD, FRD documentation. For the newly built enhancement, it would be user stories plus change impact, and regulatory would be rule based documentation. Stakeholder interaction. So for the newly built, it would be all the stakeholders, business plus tech, right? For enhancement, it would be internal teams, and regulatory, it would be compliance, legal, and business. For the newly built, we have to do the entire system testing. That would be full system testing. For the enhancement, it would be regression plus feature testing. Regulatory, it would be rule validation. Let's take an example to understand it better. So let's suppose the project would be loan eligibility check. So let's suppose it is a newly built project. Then the requirement would be building the entire eligibility logic from scratch, defining rules, data inputs, decision flow, and integration points with no prior baseline. Enhancements would be adding a new rule to this existing system. So, for a loan eligibility check, if there is any rule that is being added, so that would be part of this enhancement project. And for the regulatory, updating the eligibility criteria as mandated by a new government rule. No flexibility, must match the regulation exactly. Let's see the learning value in all these projects. So for the implementation, it would be deep and end-to-end understanding. So once the PA is involved in the new build project or the implementation projects, will have a very deep knowledge about the PA task and will be able to probably do all the projects. For enhancements, it would be quick execution skills, as probably there would be some features that would be added into our system. So if we are able to do that, probably we'll be developing our quick execution skills. And regulatory, it would be best for domain and compliance expertise.